in a nutshell, what would you say the state of the Republic of South Africa is?
I would say that when the change came in 94, we said our first strategic task is to eradicate the legacy of colonialism and apartheid. That's the first task. And I would then say we're still faced with the same task to this day, because that objective of the eradication of the legacy of colonialism and apartheid we have not yet achieved. That's why you see everywhere manifest evidence of the old socio-economic order. So that's a challenge. But during the last 25 years, we've learned a lot about what needs to be done to eradicate that legacy, and made many mistakes in the process, among other things. Made some progress in some instances, but I'm saying that we've accumulated a lot of experience. That what we need to do now is to have another serious reflection in pursuit of that same objective of the eradication of the legacy of colonialism and apartheid. What is it that we need to do, given our experience of the last 25 years? What is it that we need to do now about the economy, about education, about human settlements, about everything?
Do you think that what you raised back in Parliament about the two South Africas is still very much alive?
It is. It still is. That's part of the legacy. Mm-hmm. That's part of the legacy that we've inherited, which we still have not overcome.
Why has it been so difficult?
Because it's difficult.
Is ours difficult because it has the race element to it? Because if you compare to Rwanda, for instance, they seem to be making some progress, but there's no race element to it. Ours has the race element, it seems, to it as well.
Sure, the race element is there in South Africa, quite correct, but I would want to avoid comparisons among countries, but sure, you are right. I mean, the race element is there here. If, for instance, you take the economy, we used to have, you would remember, as government, an international advisory investment council, which was constituted of leading business people from around the world, who would meet twice a year to look at the South African economy and make their own comments about what they think needs to happen, domestically and in terms of our relations with the rest of the world. There's an issue which they kept raising, which we found difficult to answer at a certain point, which was, they would say, the big corporations in South Africa, big companies, have levels of liquidity that are abnormally high, that you don't find among businesses around the globe. Abnormally high levels of liquidity in the South African companies. Why? I'm saying we find, they would ask us this question each time we meet. In the end, we try to avoid it, but in the end we have to answer it. And we're saying to them, the answer is that the owners of big volumes of capital are uncertain about the future of South Africa. Many of them say this transition in 94 from apartheid to democracy was too good to be true. Something will go wrong. So they tend to be cautious in terms of their approach towards investing in the South African economy. because there is something is going to go wrong tomorrow. After all, we are an African country. That would be part of the argument. It's more than policy uncertainty. We are an African country. And if you look at the history of the continent, look at what's happened. This was a part of the argument, with its military coups and this and that and the other. And here you have this smooth transition. And then here a country, we have a white minority which is very oppressive of the black majority. Now there's democracy, and this black majority is forgiving and is not, how long will that last? That kind of question. I'm saying some investors. So they don't, the incentive to invest becomes reduced. Mm-hmm. Sometime last year, I met an American economist, a former Nobel Prize winner in economics. He was here, and he asked to see me, so we met. And he raised an issue which I still haven't followed up, which was that his sense was that the South African banks were very risk-averse, much more risk-averse than would be the US banks or the EU banks. That virtually the South African banks, if you are asking for a significant amount of credit to start a company or whatever, would almost insist that we need to be assured of 100% success before we lend you the money.
If it is found, if you do your own research and you do find that indeed this is the case and these are the reasons why this is the case, what would you say should be the solution?
I think the first thing would be to say to the government, this is what I've found out. Can you please engage with the banks? We have got so many people on social welfare. It's not an achievement, it's a failure.